Imagine demanding a refund because your house was cleaned too well. It actually happened. We've tracked down 55 of the most insane, logic-defying complaints ever filed against professional cleaning services in the US. From people suing over stolen trash to homeowners furious that their dirt was removed without permission. These aren't just bad clients. This is a masterclass in human stupidity. 55 dumbest cleaning complaints. Let's go. 1. A client lodged a formal grievance because the cleaner had wiped away a lucky coffee ring from his mahogany desk. The man claimed that this specific stain, left by a mug 3 years ago during a successful stock trade, was his financial anchor. He believed that placing his morning coffee on that exact ring guaranteed a profitable day on the market. By polishing the desk and removing the stain, he was convinced the cleaner had wiped away his future millions and plunged his portfolio into chaos. 2. One furious client demanded a full refund and significant compensation for a stolen family heirloom. The cleaning company launched a high-priority investigation, only to discover the priceless item was actually their 7-year-old son's school art project. It was a paper plate with 3 dried pieces of macaroni and a smear of brown paint, which the cleaner had understandably mistaken for a dirty dish or trash left on the coffee table and threw away. 3. A woman from Portland complained that the cleaner was effectively too good with her golden retriever, Leo. She claimed that after the cleaner left, Leo was emotionally devastated, moping by the door and refusing to play fetch for hours. The complaint specified that the cleaner's excessive friendliness had created an unrealistic expectation of affection for the dog, causing him severe separation anxiety. Seriously, have we reached a point where being nice to a dog is grounds for a 1-star review? 4. A homeowner filed a complaint in late October because the cleaner removed the cobwebs from the ceiling corners. The issue? The client claimed those were organic Halloween decorations that she had been letting accumulate naturally since August. She argued that the cleaner had ruined the spooky authenticity of her haunted house theme and forced her to go out and buy fake, synthetic cobwebs, which was bad for the environment. She literally wanted a refund for the loss of her spiderwebs. 5. A man insisted on a partial refund because the cleaner was too efficient for his liking. He had booked a 4-hour cleaning slot, but the cleaner finished the job to absolute perfection in just under 3 hours. The client argued that he paid for 4 hours of labor, not for a clean house, and felt he was cheated out of an hour of watching someone else work. If you hire someone to fix your car and they finish early, do you complain or do you say thank you? 6. A man filed a complaint stating that the cleaner had judged his lifestyle by placing his empty pizza boxes in the recycling bin. He hadn't asked them to take out the trash, but the cleaner did it as a courtesy. The client argued that seeing the stack of 12 pizza boxes from the last week all at once in the bin forced him to realize how bad his diet was. He blamed the cleaner for triggering an existential dietary crisis and said he preferred the boxes scattered around the room where he could ignore the shame. 7. One homeowner was absolutely convinced that the cleaning company was secretly planting spiders in her house to generate business. She had zero proof, obviously, but after every cleaning session she would find a single spider web in a corner a few days later. She theorized it was a deliberate tactic to ensure she would need to book their services again in the future, calling it a disgusting arachnid-based business model designed to scam her. 8. This one is a masterpiece of misplaced priorities. A client complained that the reflection of the cleaner in their newly polished chrome toaster was unflattering and distorted. They claimed the warped image was personally unsettling and argued that the cleaning service should have used a product that provided a true-to-life mirror-quality reflection. They weren't mad about the cleaning, they were genuinely furious that their kitchen appliance didn't double as a high-definition mirror. 9. A man in San Francisco claimed the cleaner's slight adjustment of his ficus plant, moving it about 2 inches to the left to dust behind it, completely disrupted the room's Feng Shui. In a detailed email, he blamed this catastrophic energy imbalance for a series of misfortunes, including losing his keys, burning his toast, and having a bad call with his mother the next morning, demanding financial compensation for his sudden streak of bad luck. 10. A client requested a full refund due to what they called olfactory negligence. The cleaner had used a standard, unscented glass cleaner on the mirrors, which did the job perfectly. However, the client was furious because they expected the home to smell chemically fresh. Their argument was that if a surface looks clean but doesn't smell like fake lemons, then the service was incomplete, comparing it to a meal that looks good but has absolutely no taste. 11. A client in New Orleans actually fired her longtime maid service because the cleaner failed to greet the resident spirit, Aunt Clara. The homeowner had apparently left a sticky note on the fridge that explicitly said, "Please say good morning to the empty rocking chair in the den." When the cleaner, assuming it was a prank, ignored the chair, the client claimed the ghost was offended and knocked a vase over later that day. She cited spiritual negligence in her refund request, arguing that spectral etiquette should be a mandatory part of the company's training manual. 12. A customer complained that the vacuum cleaner used by the service was suspiciously quiet. Even though the floors were visibly spotless and free of debris, the client argued that a machine that doesn't sound like a jet engine taking off couldn't possibly have enough suction power to do the job properly. He demanded they return and re-vacuum with a louder, older machine just so he could hear the cleanliness happening with his own ears. Would you trust a silent vacuum, or do we all secretly believe that noise equals power? 13. One homeowner went to absolute war over toilet paper origami. The cleaner had folded the end of the toilet paper roll into a neat little triangle, a standard hotel-style touch to show the room was finished. The client was outraged, calling it pretentious and bourgeois, and claimed that breaking the seal of the triangle caused them unnecessary wrist strain. They actually wanted a formal written apology for the imposition of luxury in their own bathroom, stating it made their home feel cold and impersonal. 14. This one is a classic case of logic failure. A client spent 4 hours deep cleaning her own house before the maid service arrived because she was terrified they would judge her for being messy. When the cleaners finished, she filed a complaint stating they didn't do enough work and looked bored. She essentially paid a professional crew to polish a mirror she had already polished, then got mad that they didn't find dirt that she had already removed. Why do we feel the need to clean for the cleaner? 15. A furious customer threatened to sue because the cleaner did their job too well on the sliding glass door. The glass was so perfectly streak-free that the homeowner walked straight into it while trying to let the cat out, spilling hot coffee all over his morning robe. He argued that the cleaner should have left at least one smudge at eye level as a safety warning for distracted pedestrians, essentially blaming his bruised forehead on high-quality Windex and professional elbow grease. 16. A hardcore gaming enthusiast complained that the cleaner ruined his perfect butt groove on the couch. By fluffing the cushions and straightening the throw pillows, the cleaner had erased months of ergonomic molding that the gamer had worked hard to achieve during long sessions. He claimed he now had to spend weeks sitting in the exact same spot to break the couch back in, calling the cleaning an act of vandalism against his personal comfort and demanding they pay for a chiropractor. 17. One high-end client refused to pay the bill because the cleaner used tap water to mop the marble floors. The homeowner insisted that only volcanic spring water should touch their imported tiles, claiming that municipal tap water had a plebeian pH level that offended the stone's natural spirit. They actually expected the cleaning lady to haul 5 gallons of expensive Fiji water just to wash the mud off the entryway floor, arguing that anything less was an insult to the architecture. 18. A woman complained that by thoroughly cleaning under the guest bed, the service had removed her cat's fortress of solitude. The cat, named Mr. Whiskers, apparently liked the heavy dust and clutter down there for privacy. Now that it was clean, the cat was forced to sit on the windowsill like a common animal. She asked if the company provided emotional support clutter to help pets transition from a dirty environment to a clean one, as her cat was now visibly depressed. 19. A client with an obsessive eye for color theory lodged a complaint that the throw pillows were arranged by size rather than by chromatic intensity. They argued that putting the blue pillow next to the green one created a visual vibration that gave them an instant migraine upon entering the room. They demanded the company pay for their medical bill and send someone over to undergo a mandatory color wheel training seminar before entering the house again. 20. A customer complained that although the cleaner didn't say a word, her aura was judgmental. The client claimed that when the cleaner picked up a pile of dirty laundry, she did it with a condescending sigh and a look that pierced the client's soul. The complaint stated that while the house was clean, the homeowner's self-esteem was damaged by the silent psychic attack and negative energy left behind. Is it even possible to get a refund just because someone looked at your mess and hurt your feelings? 21. A chef in Chicago filed a furious complaint because the cleaning service ruined his culinary flow by organizing his spice rack. The well-meaning cleaner had alphabetized everything from allspice to za'atar, which sounds helpful to a normal person. However, the client claimed he organizes his spices by smell profile and emotional resonance. He argued that by putting the cumin next to the coriander, the cleaner had destroyed his creative process, resulting in a bland risotto that evening, which he blamed entirely on their organizational skills. 22. A mother complained that the vacuum cleaner was too loud and woke up her teenage son. Now, you might think this happened at 6 a.m., which would be valid. But no, the cleaner was vacuuming at 1:30 in the afternoon. The mother argued that her son was in a critical growth phase that required 14 hours of sleep and that the cleaner's disruption had potentially stunted his physical development. Should cleaning services really work around the sleep schedule of a lazy teenager, or is 1 p.m. fair game? 23. A woman requested a partial refund because the cleaner hummed too catchy of a song while dusting the living room. The client claimed that the cleaner's rendition of Call Me Maybe was so infectious that it got stuck in her head for 3 straight days, making it impossible to focus on her remote work. She actually categorized the humming as auditory pollution and demanded the cleaning company pay for a therapy session to help her get the melody out of her brain. 24. A hipster couple in Brooklyn accused their cleaning lady of murdering a family member. Before you called the police, the family member was a sourdough starter named Yeasty Boys that had been fermenting in a jar on the counter. The cleaner, thinking it was just a jar of old, moldy flour paste left out by mistake, washed it down the sink. The couple demanded compensation for emotional distress and the loss of 3 months of bacterial cultivation, claiming the house felt empty without the jar's presence. 25. One man complained that his bed was made too securely. The cleaner had used hospital corners to tuck the sheets in so tightly that the client woke up in the middle of the night in a full-blown panic attack, feeling like he was trapped in a straitjacket. He claimed he had to physically wrestle his way out of the linens to go to the bathroom, comparing the experience to being mummified alive. Does anyone actually like their sheets tucked in that tight? Or is it just a trap for your feet? 26. A client in Florida was outraged that the cleaning service had polished his antique brass door knocker. He wasn't mad that it was clean. He was mad that they had removed the historic patina. He argued that the greenish-brown tarnish had taken 40 years to accumulate and gave his home a sense of distinguished neglect. By making it shiny and gold again, he claimed the cleaner had stripped the house of its character and made it look like new money, which was apparently the ultimate insult. 27. A woman complained that the cleaner had reorganized her drawer of shame. You know the one. It's filled with old batteries, rubber bands, takeout menus, and keys to locks you no longer own. The cleaner had neatly sorted everything into little bins and thrown away the obvious trash. The client was furious, arguing that the chaotic energy of that drawer was essential to her mental balance. She claimed that by organizing the junk, the cleaner had forced her to confront her own hoarding tendencies before she was emotionally ready. 28. A particularly superstitious homeowner demanded the cleaning crew return immediately to reverse the bad luck they had caused. The cleaner had opened an umbrella inside the house to shake the dust off it before taking it outside. The client, who witnessed this from the kitchen, was convinced this act had cursed the household for 7 years. She demanded the cleaning company pay for a spiritual cleansing ritual and a supply of sage to smudge the entire property, just to be safe. 29. A wealthy client was offended because the cleaner replaced the empty roll of luxury 3-ply toilet paper with a spare roll of standard 2-ply found in the cabinet. The client described the texture difference as sandpaper-esque and claimed it was an insult to their net worth. They argued that a professional service should know that their delicate skin cannot handle anything less than 3 layers of premium softness, and that the cleaner should have gone to the store to buy the correct brand on her own dime. 30. A client filed a formal complaint because the cleaners left perfect straight vacuum lines on their shag carpet. They described the pristine geometric lines as aggressive and sterile, claiming it made their living room look like a corporate hotel lobby rather than a home. They insisted it completely ruined the bohemian, free-flowing vibe they were cultivating. How do you even negotiate with someone who thinks straight lines are an act of aggression? 31. A frantic homeowner in Seattle called the agency screaming because the cleaner had removed the crime scene tape from the living room floor. To be clear, there had been no crime. The homeowner had used masking tape to mark the exact millimetric position of every single piece of furniture, the sofa, the coffee table, the lamp, so they would never migrate an inch. When the cleaner peeled the tape off to mop the floor, the client claimed the room was now structurally anarchic, and that they would never be able to relax knowing the ottoman might be 3 millimeters off-center. 32. A wealthy recluse filed a complaint stating that the service was a failure because he saw the cleaner. His contract requested minimal interaction, but he apparently interpreted that as total invisibility. He was upset that he looked up from his book and saw a human being dusting the mantle, claiming it broke his immersion in his own home. He compared it to seeing the stagehands during a theater play. It ruins the illusion that the house magically cleans itself. Would you pay extra for a ninja cleaner you never see, or is that just creepy? 33. One client was absolutely furious that the cleaner had thrown away a priceless art installation sitting on the dining room table. The cleaner, quite reasonably, saw a pile of crumpled receipts, 3 bent paper clips, and an empty soda can, and assumed it was garbage. It turns out this was a found object sculpture the client was working on titled Consumerist Despair. The client demanded the agency reimburse them $5,000 for the destruction of a future masterpiece, even though the raw materials were worth about 5 cents at a recycling center. 34. A woman complained that the cleaner had organized her bookshelf by height and color, which sounds aesthetically pleasing, but was actually a literary disaster. The client had apparently organized her library by emotional turbulence, grouping books based on how much they made her cry. She argued that by putting a happy cookbook next to a tragic novel, just because they were both blue, the cleaner had created a bipolar narrative dissonance that made it impossible for her to choose a book without having a mood swing. 35. This might be the most uncomfortable complaint on the list. A man requested a new cleaner because the previous one folded his underwear too intimately. He claimed that the way his boxer shorts were neatly folded into tight little squares felt overly personal and bordered on flirtation. He insisted that his undergarments should be tossed casually into the drawer to maintain a professional distance. At what point does doing a job perfectly become a romantic advance in someone's twisted mind? 36. A homeowner in Scottsdale, Arizona, filed a formal complaint stating their house was quite literally too clean. After a deep clean service, they claimed the home felt like a sanitized void and was so unsettlingly pristine that it no longer felt lived in. Their official request was for the cleaners to come back immediately and make it look a little more natural, suggesting they leave a single, artfully placed fingerprint on a countertop or some dust on a shelf just to restore the balance of the universe. 37. This might be the most relatable yet petty war in history. A client canceled their contract immediately because the maid hung the toilet paper roll in the under position. The homeowner called it a passive-aggressive act of anarchy and claimed that having to reach under the roll to grab a sheet caused unnecessary wrist microtrauma. They insisted that the over position is the only civilized way to live and that the cleaner was clearly trying to sabotage their bathroom experience. Be honest, would you fire someone for hanging the toilet paper the wrong way? Or are you normal? 38. A pet owner was outraged because the cleaner refused to let the indoor cat outside. The instructions explicitly said, "Do not let the cat out." But the client complained that the cleaner should have read the cat's body language and realized that today the cat really wanted to go explore. The client argued that the cleaner's strict adherence to the written rules was authoritarian and denied the animal its right to autonomous movement, blaming the service for the cat meowing loudly for the rest of the afternoon. 39. A couple in Los Angeles requested a refund because the house smelled too neutral after the cleaning. They didn't complain about a bad smell. They complained about the absence of smell. They argued that a truly premium service would have left a signature scent narrative behind. Perhaps something like lavender fields meeting a salty ocean breeze. They claimed the lack of a distinct odor left the house feeling soulless and corporate, proving that some people will literally complain about nothing. 40. A man filed a complaint that the hardwood floors were polished too effectively, causing his elderly corgi to lose traction. He sent a video of the dog trying to run to the kitchen and drifting around corners like a car in a Fast and Furious movie. While the visual was undeniably funny, the client was not amused. He demanded the cleaning company come back and scuff up the floors with sandpaper to restore the friction, essentially asking them to damage his expensive flooring for the sake of the dog's turning radius. 41. A client accused a cleaning service of committing culinary homicide after the cleaner scrubbed a cast iron skillet with soap and steel wool. To be fair, cast iron enthusiasts know this is a mistake, but the client's reaction was unhinged. He claimed the cleaner had stripped away 80 years of grandmother's flavor profile, effectively erasing his family history. He demanded the company locate and purchase a vintage pre-seasoned skillet from the 1940s to replace the ruined pan, arguing that modern iron just doesn't taste like the Great Depression. 42. A cleaning crew was accused of theft, but not of jewelry or cash. The client claimed they had stolen his collection of vintage dust bunnies from under the guest bed. Apparently, he was conducting a long-term scientific experiment on dust accumulation rates and had been carefully cultivating those specific dust balls for over 3 years. He demanded the company return the exact same dust or pay him a hefty settlement for the scientific data he claimed to have lost. Seriously, who in their right mind collects dust for 3 years? 43. A woman requested a refund because the cleaner loaded the dishwasher incorrectly. The dishes were clean, mind you, but the client was furious about the arrangement. She claimed the cleaner had failed to optimize the spatial geometry of the racks, wasting potential space where a single spoon could have fit. She actually unloaded the clean dishes, reloaded them her way to prove a point, and billed the cleaning company for her time spent fixing their incompetence. Do you have a specific system for the dishwasher, or are you just happy someone else is doing it? 44. A gaming addict filed a formal complaint because the cleaner dusted his console and accidentally hit the power button. The tragedy? He had paused a game during an unskippable cutscene after beating a boss he had been stuck on for 3 weeks. He hadn't saved. When he came home to a clean room and a black screen, he described the emotional pain as worse than a breakup. He demanded the cleaning lady come back and beat the level for him to restore the status quo. 45. A client refused to pay the full amount because the cleaner didn't sweat enough. The homeowner had stayed home to supervise and noted that after 3 hours of scrubbing, the cleaner's forehead was still dry. He argued that the lack of visible perspiration was scientific proof that she wasn't applying enough torque and effort to the surfaces. He essentially wanted to pay for the physical struggle, not the result, claiming that if it looked easy, he was being overcharged. 46. The guest towel saga. A woman went ballistic because the cleaner dried her hands on the decorative towels in the powder room. You know the ones. They are embroidered, fluffy, and completely forbidden to touch. The client screamed that those towels were for visual purposes only, and that by using them for their intended function, the cleaner had desecrated the sanctity of the bathroom decor. Why do people buy towels that no one is allowed to use? 47. A dedicated puzzle enthusiast sued for damages after a well-meaning cleaner tidied up the dining room table. The client had been working on a 5,000-piece image of the sky, which is just 5,000 blue pieces, for 6 months. The cleaner, seeing a chaotic pile of cardboard bits, scooped them all up and put them neatly back into the box. The client described this as an act of entropy and destruction, claiming the mental map of the puzzle pieces was now lost forever. 48. In a bizarre twist of logic, a customer accused a cleaning service of making their house dirtier by emptying the vacuum. The cleaner had emptied the canister into the outdoor trash bin, but the client argued that this action released the home's unique dirt signature into the atmosphere. They were convinced the wind would inevitably blow that specific dust back inside through an open window, essentially claiming their own dirt was returned to them against their will. 49. A pet owner complained that the cleaner confused her dog by speaking to it in Spanish. The client claimed that her golden retriever Buster was raised in an English-only household, and that after the cleaner spent the day cooing at him in Spanish, the dog no longer responded to the command, "sit." She accused the cleaner of linguistically reprogramming her pet and demanded the agency pay for a dog trainer to reteach Buster his original language. 50. A man complained that the cleaner moved his hide-a-key rock. The cleaner, while weeding the garden path, picked up the fake plastic rock and placed it on the porch railing to sweep underneath. The client was furious, arguing that by moving the rock 3 feet, she had compromised the security of the entire estate. He claimed that any burglar would now immediately spot the plastic rock, rendering his top-secret security system completely useless. 51. A furious homeowner contacted the agency demanding immediate tech support because the cleaner had broken the television. Upon investigation, it turned out the cleaner, while dusting the remote control, had accidentally pressed a button that switched the input from HDMI 1 to HDMI 2. The client claimed this technological sabotage caused him to miss the first 5 minutes of his favorite show because he didn't know how to switch it back. He actually insisted the cleaning lady drive 40 minutes back to his house just to press the source button, arguing that if she touched it, she had to fix it. 52. A tech-obsessed homeowner filed a grievance because the cleaner used a manual vacuum instead of letting his robot vacuum do the work. The issue wasn't the cleanliness, it was electronic jealousy. The client claimed that by doing a superior job, the cleaner had demoralized his expensive Roomba, which was now docked in a state of depression because it couldn't find any dirt to eat. He seriously argued that the cleaner's efficiency had created a hostile work environment for his smart home appliances. 53. A client requested a new cleaner because the previous one was suspiciously cheerful while scrubbing the bathroom. The homeowner argued that cleaning a toilet is objectively a miserable task, and the fact that the cleaner was humming and smiling the whole time was unsettling and psychopathic. She claimed that this excessive happiness made her feel judged, as if the cleaner was secretly mocking the state of her home behind that smile. She specifically requested a grumpy, or at least indifferent cleaner for the next visit to make the dynamic feel more realistic. 54. A man complained that the cleaner had removed his navigational landmarks. Apparently, this guy had been living in such a state of clutter that he used specific piles of laundry and stacks of magazines to navigate his house in the dark. When the cleaner tidied everything up and cleared the hallways, he woke up in the night to get water, lost his bearings in the empty corridor, and stubbed his toe on a wall he didn't expect to be there. He blamed the cleaner for removing the tactile guidance system he had relied on for years. 55. In perhaps the most bizarre case of all, a man actually called the police on his own house because the cleaning service did too good of a job. He came home late at night, unlocked the door, and saw a pristine, shiny, clutter-free environment that smelled like lemons. In his exhausted state, he genuinely believed he had walked into the wrong house, or that intruders had replaced his furniture. He filed a complaint against the service for causing him a psychotic break and a panic attack, arguing that the transformation was so drastic it shattered his sense of reality. And there you have it, proof that you can scrub a floor perfectly and still be the villain. From stolen dust bunnies to ghost etiquette, these 55 stories prove that for some people, misery is a full-time job. It is honestly terrifying that these folks walk among us. Now, I want to hear from you. What is the single most ridiculous, petty, or insane complaint you have ever heard? Can you beat the guy who sued over a toilet paper triangle? Drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed the madness, smash that like button and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.